Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into a really fascinating idea. This concept that within each of us, there are these 7 energetic centers, chakras. And our source material suggests each one is tied to a specific body and holds, well, immense potential for transformation.
That's right.
So our mission today is basically to unpack the insights from this material, helping you understand the natural states described, the maybe surprising obstacles, and these incredible paths to spiritual growth.
Absolutely. And I think what's foundational, really right from the start, is getting that each chakra presents sort of 2 possibilities.
The possibility.
Yeah. There's a natural potential, something we're kind of born with, just inherent energy.
Okay.
But then there's a higher transformative potential. And that one isn't just handed to us. It's achievable through conscious effort. Think meditation, deeper understanding.
It's a journey.
Exactly. It's a journey from our, let's say, natural state towards higher awareness, higher realization, unfolding what's already there in a way.
Okay, let's unpack this then.
Yeah.
Starting right at the beginning. The first chakra, the Muladhara, it's connected with the physical body, right?
The physical body.
And the source says its natural potential is, well, simply the sex urge.
That's the fundamental energy there, yeah.
And the fundamental question posed is, well, what do you do with this central, pretty potent principle?
Right. And what's fascinating here is the transformative possibility you mentioned. Brahmacharya. Celibacy.
Okay, celibacy, but how?
Attained through meditation. But, and this is crucial, the source really emphasizes this transformation doesn't come from, fighting the urge or suppressing it.
Not fighting it. That sounds different.
It is. Suppression is actually called out as a major obstacle. It's like an internal war that just makes the urge stronger, more entrenched. Instead, the transformation happens as you begin to understand the sex urge, as you become fully aware of its energy, its pull, without judgment.
So awareness itself is the key.
Awareness acts as the alchemy. That's the term used. It's the key to changing these unconscious raw elements within us, converting that primal energy into something, well, higher.
So the core takeaway from Muladhara isn't suppression, but understanding. That seems quite counterintuitive for a lot of people, doesn't it?
It really does.
How does that awareness as alchemy actually work, practically speaking? According to the source, I mean. It sounds less like brute force and more a shift in perspective.
Precisely. It's described not as willpower against the urge, but a redirection through conscious observation. Think about it. When you bring your full awareness to something, its nature can actually change. Instead of being driven by it unconsciously, you become its master, in a sense. You understand it.
Okay.
And it's highlighted pretty strongly that unless this initial transformation happens, unless this really fundamental energy is understood and aligned, it's actually difficult to truly work on the potential of the other centers.
So it's foundational.
It really is the foundation. You have to start there.
That makes perfect sense. Like, yeah, building a solid base before you go higher. Okay, so moving up, we hit the second body, connected to Swadhisthana chakra.
Swadhisthana, yes. The emotional or etheric body.
And here, the natural potentials are things like fear, hate, anger, violence. Wow, pretty primal emotions. Necessary for survival, I guess.
Indeed. Deeply ingrained for self-preservation, absolutely.
So the transformation here must be pretty significant then.
It is. It's into love, compassion, fearlessness, and friendliness. But again, the source warns against both indulging these negative emotions, which obviously leads to suffering,
Right.
and just as importantly, suppressing them. If you suppress anger, it doesn't vanish. It just, festers inside, maybe comes out as resentment or even illness.
Or pretending you're fearless when you're actually terrified inside.
Exactly. That's not transformation, that's just denial. Putting on a mask.
The source uses this powerful analogy here about 2 sides of the same coin. Can you elaborate on that? How does understanding and accepting, say, anger, lead you towards forgiveness without just forcing it? That connection feels key.
What's fascinating here is, yes, the coin analogy. Anger and forgiveness, fear and fearlessness, they're presented as 2 sides of the same coin. You can't actually eliminate one side.
You just turn it over.
You just turn it over. So if we connect this to the bigger picture, it means understanding and accepting the raw, natural presence of these emotions, like acknowledging your fear or anger without judging yourself for having it, that leads to a natural curiosity about their opposite.
Curiosity.
Yeah, it's like a fundamental recognition that within the potential for anger, there's also the potential for compassion. It's the same energy, just expressed differently.
Right.
And that recognition, that awareness, prompts the turning over of the coin. So transformation happens through that awareness. You don't fight the coin, you just become aware of its other side.
And it makes sense that these natural qualities, fear, even violence in a primitive sense, are necessary for survival. Basic protection.
Absolutely, they have their place.
But, as you said, true growth means not stopping there, moving beyond just surviving into a more conscious, maybe loving state.
Precisely. That's the evolutionary step.
All right, let's move to the third body, linked to the Manipur chakra. Now, here the natural qualities are doubt and thinking. Okay, doubt.
Yeah.
I think for many people, doubt feels like a weakness, something to get rid of fast.
It's a really common misconception, isn't it? But the transformative potentials here are actually profound. Doubt, when it's really understood and processed, becomes trust. Shraddha.
Doubt becomes trust. Wow.
And thinking, instead of being repressed or avoided, it evolves into vivek, which is like awareness, discrimination, a deep clarity.
Okay.
And the source is very direct about the obstacles. Repressing doubts, incredibly dangerous. They fester like a hidden wound, a cancer, creating all this internal conflict.
Right.
But conversely, avoiding thinking altogether, that leads to ignorance. Blind faith. You see that in, well, dogmatists and fanatics.
Well, how do we navigate those extremes? Embracing doubt as a path to trust. That's a radical idea. How does that differ from just being, indecisive or cynical?
That raises an important question, yeah. The solution presented is about facing doubt squarely, living through it, exploring it fully, and eventually even doubting the doubt itself.
Doubting doubt.
That's the point where true trust, Shraddha, can begin to blossom. It's not about stopping at doubt, but using doubt as a tool for deeper inquiry. You question everything until the very basis of the doubt dissolves.
Okay.
And similarly, true discrimination, that clarity, vivek, it only comes after passing through subtle processes of thinking, not by just abandoning thought because it feels difficult or uncertain.
So you don't get clarity by not thinking.
No. Trust, in this context, isn't the opposite of doubt that cancels it out. It's described as its purest and ultimate development. It's flowering.
Like an earned certainty.
Exactly, a certainty born from having questioned everything, rather than just accepting something blindly.
That's a powerful shift. Trust as the ultimate development of doubt, not its enemy. The core insight, if I'm getting this right, is that true certainty isn't found by avoiding uncertainty, but by embracing it and moving through it.
Precisely. It's an earned trust, a mature trust.
Okay, and then we come to the fourth chakra, Anahat, connected to the mental or psychic body. Imagination and dreaming are the natural qualities here. Now, here's where it gets really interesting.
It really does take a turn here, doesn't it?
Yeah. So what's the transformation here? For imagination and dreaming, it feels like we're stepping into a different kind of reality.
The transformation is quite extraordinary. Imagination, when it's fully developed, becomes determination, willpower.
Not just fantasy.
No, focused, creative power. And dreaming, when fully developed, transforms into vision, psychic vision.
Psychic vision.
Yeah.
Like seeing things.
Seeing and hearing, but without the usual physical senses, transcending the normal limits of time and space. The source gives some pretty compelling examples.
Like what?
Well, there was this figure, Swedenborg. Apparently, while asleep, he suddenly cried out that his house, 300 miles away, was on fire.
No way.
Yes, and 2 days later, news arrived confirming it. His house had burned down exactly at that moment he cried out.
Wow. That's hard to explain conventionally.
Very. And it connects to modern things too, right? The source note scientists are actually interested now in developing things like telepathy and clairvoyance, specifically for safety and space travel, because instruments can fail.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
If machines fail, maybe the human potential is more reliable.
Well, there's another amazing historical example given, a North Pole explorer. Apparently, even when their wireless communication failed, and even when working, it was only about 72% reliable.
Wow.
They had someone described as a psychic communicator whose fourth body faculties were active. This person received transmissions, mental transmissions, that were 80 to 95% accurate.
Incredible. More reliable than the tech.
Significantly. So it points to this profound layer of human capability that, maybe science is only just beginning to seriously explore, tapping into these deeper potentials.
Okay, now moving to the Vishuddhi chakra, the fifth. We had a really significant shift here. The source says duality ends. No more two possibilities, just one. Which means, fascinatingly, the male-female distinction, which apparently persists up to the fourth body, just ceases.
Yes, that's a huge shift.
What are the implications of that? Ending duality.
This is where the journey becomes truly non-dual. The transformative state here is, well, the individual becomes completely rid of unconsciousness. They remain awake even during sleep.
Awake during sleep. How does that work?
The body sleeps, but an inner awareness persists. They know if they turn over, they know if they kick off the blanket. There's a continuous witnessing.
Which is totally different from most of us.
Completely different. Our typical state is described almost as somnambulism, sleepwalking through life.
Sleepwalking. That's a strong word.
It is, but think about it. Living largely unconsciously, driven by habit. The source suggests we're only truly alert in moments of extreme danger, knife at your chest kind of danger. Otherwise, we might think we're conscious, but have we really seen our loved one's face today? Do we say things we didn't intend, like a criminal denying intent later, or breaking vows we made in what was essentially a state of sleep?
That's sobering.
It is. So the attainment of this fifth state means one becomes a Buddha, an awakened one. The ego, that feeling of I, it dies.
The gay eyes.
Yes. And that deep, nagging question, who am I, is finally answered. The need to prove oneself just disappears.
So what does this all mean for you then? If the I, the ego dies, what's left? What's the experience like on this plane?
Well, here's the paradox. The major obstacle on this fifth plane is actually bliss. Atmagyan, self-realization.
Bliss is an obstacle. How?
It sounds strange, right? But while it's profoundly fulfilling immense joy, peace, knowing oneself, this very immensity can become a trap. It makes the seeker want to just stop the journey right there.
Like, this is it, I've arrived.
Exactly. And what's fascinating here is the source states suffering is actually less of an obstacle than joy. We're so used to struggling that when we hit pure bliss, it's incredibly tempting to just settle, to mistake it for the ultimate goal.
So the solution isn't to avoid the bliss.
No, experience it fully, but don't get lost in it. Be a witness to it. Know that it's still an experience, however profound, and not the absolute end.
Okay, so the ego, the I, dies. But what persists? You mentioned something.
I amness, the am part of I am. That sense of existence persists. It leads to an experience of infinite separate souls, all in bliss. But the source stresses the ultimate quest should be for truth, not just bliss. Because even supreme bliss apparently can become monotonous, an impediment to discovering what lies beyond even that.
Which leads us to the sixth chakra, Agya, where we move even beyond the self, beyond that I amness. Is that right?
That's right. Even the am is transcended.
How do you even begin to conceptualize that? A state beyond I am.
It's difficult. Here, Asmita, that feeling of am is lost. What's left is described as just isness, or tathata suchness.
Suchness.
Consciousness is no longer my consciousness, it's just pure consciousness. Existence isn't my existence, it's pure existence. This is the experience of the Brahman, the total, the all.
The Brahman. Okay. But you mentioned obstacles. Surely there's an obstacle here, too.
Oh, yes. The final and maybe the most profound obstacle, it's the state of realizing I am the Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi.
How is that an obstacle? It sounds like the ultimate attainment.
It feels like it, the grandest possible realization you are everything. And apparently many, many seekers halt right here for countless lifetimes because, well, where else could you possibly go? It seems like the absolute end.
So what is beyond I am the Brahman? If we connect this to the bigger picture, is there something even more fundamental?
Indeed there is, according to the source. The journey isn't truly complete until non-being is also realized. Brahman represents only being, but in its totality.
Being versus non-being.
Right. It's like discovering that even the vastness of the entire ocean is still something. It still exists. The ultimate truth includes non-existence too. This is why the third eye, often located conceptually between the eyebrows, is linked to this cosmic vision, seeing beyond individual being, beyond even the totality of being.
Wow. Okay. Which brings us, finally, to the seventh chakra, Sahasrara, and the nirvanic body. A state almost beyond description where language just fails.
It really struggles. This is described as the Shunyakaya. The void body, the void where one makes the ultimate leap. From being into non-being, it's the ultimate death, not just of the ego, but of all self-identity, even the identity of being one with the all, with Brahman.
So the ultimate truth encompasses both.
According to the source, yes. The ultimate truth is known only when both existence and non-existence are fully understood, fully embraced. When both being and non-being are seen as perhaps two sides of the final reality.
And is the nirvana?
This is nirvana, often translated as the extinction of the flame. Not annihilation in a negative sense, but complete transcendence, going beyond everything.
It's noted that scriptures often stop before this,
Yeah.
right? The fifth or sixth body.
Yes, because it becomes so incredibly difficult to articulate. Mystics, like the Sufis, are mentioned as delving into these planes where language requires contradiction. You read Sufi poets, they'll say God is and God is not. I've seen him and he cannot be seen, because they're trying to point to something beyond dualistic language.
The void.
The void is presented as the ultimate, after which nothing more can really be said.
It's just remarkable how this journey unfolds from, very tangible experiences and emotions, basic urges, doubt, all the way to these utterly ineffable states.
It's quite a map.
And throughout all of this, one core insight keeps coming back again and again. All the barriers, all the obstacles on this journey, they're internal, not external.
Exactly. And what's fascinating here, truly profound, is the teaching that these very obstacles, when you truly understand them rather than fighting them, they become the means for progress.
The means for progress.
The Source uses that powerful analogy of a rock on the road.
Ah, yes.
If you fight it, kick it, curse it, it's a barrier. It blocks your way. But if you understand it, accept its presence, maybe learn why it's there, and then you climb over it, suddenly that same rock becomes a step, a ladder to a higher plane.
Wow.
And it emphasizes the critical danger of fighting our natural tendencies. Those who fight sex, for instance, become deeply obsessed with it, sometimes even more than those who indulge, because their mind is constantly battling it.
It consumes them.
Completely. And those who fight anger become filled with anger. It mentions ancient sages like Durvasa, famous for his temper, or stories of rishis supposedly corrupted by celestial maidens.
Right, those stories.
The Source interprets those maidens not as external beings, but as internal projections. Their own suppressed desires manifesting outwardly because they were fought, not understood.
So understanding, not fighting. That's the consistent message.
Always the path. Understanding is the alchemy.
That's a truly transformative way to look at challenges, isn't it? So for the listener, how can this principle, not fighting, but understanding, be applied in their own lives? Beyond these, very deep spiritual concepts, what's the practical takeaway here?
This raises an important question for you, the listener, definitely. The ultimate message, as presented in our source, is that true understanding starts with accepting what nature has given you. Whatever it is, an urge, an emotion, a deep doubt, even that overwhelming bliss we talked about.
Accepting it first.
Yes. And then using that very thing as the opening, the starting point for the quest for transformation. And crucially, the information we've shared today, it shouldn't be taken as just belief or like alms you passively receive.
Don't just believe it.
No. It should be a stimulus, a catalyst for your own personal quest. It should ideally accelerate your search, maybe even put you into greater difficulty by challenging your assumptions. It should raise new questions in you, new dimensions.
Make you think, make you seek.
Exactly. The real journey is about transforming received information into personal inquiry, turning every answer we've maybe touched on today into a new question that propels you further on your own unique path.
And with that thought, we bring this deep dive into the 7 bodies and chakras to a close. What an incredible journey, exploring this profound idea that every internal obstacle, from a basic urge right up to the highest bliss, can actually be a stepping stone, if it's met with understanding, not resistance.
So what does this all mean for you? Maybe consider, just for a moment, how this principle, transforming inner barriers through awareness, could reshape any aspect of your life. Think about a personal habit, a nagging fear, maybe even an unexpected moment of joy that feels unsettling. How could meeting that with understanding, rather than fighting or clinging, change things? It could turn what seems like an impediment into a crucial part of your own unique path of discovery, your own path towards higher understanding. Because the true search, like the one we've explored today, is always ultimately an unending internal quest.